John Smith took a look around the chilly and antiseptic chamber that he was currently occupying as the shimmering light gradually disappeared. After that, he gave himself a pinch, and because it was fairly painful, he was under the impression that this was not a dream. "How are you today, Earthling?" It was said by a creature that appeared to be a houseplant, but was actually formed of tentacles. This was the very first time that a human being had ever witnessed an extraterrestrial being, and John Smith believed that it was fitting to commemorate the event by making a statement that was appropriately significant. "There is no need to be concerned. I cannot cause you any harm." What a wonderful thing. On the other hand, my master is a warlord from another galaxy who has the intention of acquiring your planet. The legendary first contact speech, delivered by John Smith, was repeated. "My heartfelt apologies for everything that has happened, but this is his way. To get the most accurate assessment of the military capabilities of your planet, he would like to have a conversation with you, a regular human being. In the same way that he does not deal with military because they are always boasting about how powerful they are. He despises politicians since they are always trying to surrender almost immediately. The information that you share with him will determine whether or not your world is being invaded. No need to worry." It was with some reluctance that John Smith was escorted out of the teleportation room and into the vessel utilized by the extraterrestrial warlord. An frightening portal led him into a big black chamber that featured a luminous ring in the floor at the center of the room. He was guided through the doorway. A large number of tentacles that were trembling with anger stood at the very edge. "My name is Blophomax the Fierce, and I am the Arch-Conqueror. Welcome to the Circle, you human being. It is up to you to decide what happens to your universe." John Smith was obedient. In the Circle, Blophomax joined him on his side. "This represents a truth field. Nothing that is not true can be said in this place, and as a result, you are now obligated to disclose the actual capabilities of the human race. You must have come to the conclusion by this point that with regard to technology, we are well beyond your globe and possess marvels that you have never seen before." "It is not true," John Smith spat forth in a rash manner. Due to the fact that he was taken aback by his own remarks, he clutched his hands over his lips in a state of shock. He had no intention of doing so. When the extraterrestrial was shocked, it trembled. "In what way could you possibly be familiar with the technologies that we use?" There was a collision of words against the interior of John's mouth, and they were compelled to emerge from his lips. "This is the business." The words came out of his mouth before he managed to regain some amount of control. "Although I have witnessed your teleportation technology 100 times aboard the Enterprise, as well as in a number of other locations, the Enterprise is the location where I first recall seeing it." Somewhat perplexed, one of the warlord's eye stalks turned to a lackey who was located nearby. "He is not capable of making stuff up. Do you agree?" Something that could be considered a skull was shaken by a smaller and more anxious ball of surplus squid bits. At precisely the moment when the truth field demanded yet another proclamation, Blophomax shifted his attention back to the human. "Aside from that, this is merely a zone of truth. When I was a kid, I was already familiar with the concept of the zone of truth. I was 12 years old when I participated in a game with my buddies that made use of it." During his examination of the human being in front of him, the Arch-Conqueror started to pace, or at the very least, he did the equivalent of pacing with a ball of tentacles. Have you ever been confronted by a player who destroys stars? When it comes to the number of times I've witnessed a star destroyer, I've lost count. The response came from John. "In how many different wars have you participated?" "As many as I am able to count." The warlord took a momentary pause. "Regarding the number of conflicts in which you have personally participated, how many of those conflicts involved uniformed warriors fighting under the flag of an armed force against an opposite force?" "More than I can count, as I mentioned earlier. The only conflicts I will discuss are those in which people were killed. I don't know how many times I have to respond to you with the same answer." It was clear that the extraterrestrial was in rage. "Let's name one such area of contention." John wore a grin. "The Blood Gulch. After receiving the replies, the warlord remained silent for a while, reflecting on what he had learned. It was John's decision to take the Dragon Force. I was wondering how many worlds your empire possesses. The response from Blophomax was 22, distributed among 17 different star systems. Therefore, a small to medium-sized empire. The pacing alien paused for a moment as a result of the accidental response. Could I please ask for your forgiveness? John's face gradually warmed up with a smile. In my spare time, I enjoy playing a simulation that is known as Stellaris. It has a lot of followers, utilized by millions of human beings. It makes it possible for us to manage a virtual world, and our goal is to exert control over the entire galaxy through diplomatic, economic, or military means. Around 60% of the time, I am successful in completing a game. Suddenly, the warlord's speech took on a different tone. Are you telling me that regular people, civilians, and other humans participate in war games on a regular basis? In a word, yes. As a matter of fact, one of our most well-liked pastimes is playing out simulated battles. Even though you are aware of modern technology, we do not see any evidence of it. Even though you live on a single backwater world, you imitate a struggle that occurs across the galaxy. There must be some sort of fraud here. You are obviously lying. Within the circle, I am unable to lie down. So what exactly am I lacking? There was no response received. There is something that you are not revealing quite yet. What exactly is it? Please provide me with an explanation as to why a species that is aware of modern technology would not have it in broad utilization. At the same time as the truth field was attempting to coax words out of John, he felt his chest constrict. Already, he was aware of the need to get ahead of the sensation. The simulations that I mentioned to you are frequently played against artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is typically programmed to operate according to a set of predetermined parameters. For your own war games, I have no doubt that you do the same thing. Indeed, we do. The warlord responded, but it appeared that he did not choose to do so. On the default, through those simulations, all of the factions are nearly equivalent. Similar starting resources, comparable region, an average level of combat expertise, and so on and so forth. I am only successful 60% of the time because I offer the artificial intelligence a significant advantage. They are provided with additional resources. They have more powerful weapons than I do themselves. The fact that they have access to information that they should not have gives them permission to cheat. I am operating these war games at a significant disadvantage at the moment. I continue to be successful more than half of the time. A hush fell over Blophomax. You put yourself in a position of disadvantage on purpose, right? John gave a slight nod. When compared to crushing a weaker opponent, it is a much more fulfilling experience to triumph over a superior opponent. After each victory, I make the subsequent game a little bit more challenging. In a low whisper, he leaned in close. Just so we are clear, based on what I have seen of your technology up to this point, I am able to say with complete assurance that a battle between my world and yours would not even come close to being a fair fight. It would blow my mind if it lasted for a week. John was momentarily concerned that he had put his luck to the test. A glare was directed in his direction by the eye stalks of the Arch-Conqueror. On Earth, or in my dark dominion, which side would emerge victorious? The very fact that you are considering asking that question is evidence that you are not even close to being as intelligent as you believe you are. John made a sneering gesture while crossing his arms across his chest. Words alone were enough to destroy the alien, and it retreated to the ground. Earth will be spared for the time being. Suddenly, John Smith vanished from the throne room in a blaze of blue and white light. The warlord made a curt gesture with his tentacles just as the warlord made the gesture. We are grateful that you were able to join us today, and I look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.